While the combat tree is mostly oriented towards strictly offensive moves, there are two skills that actually serve a fairly interesting alternative use that are forgotten about, namely Leap and Leap Attack, one being a movement tech combined with control for team play, the other being a movement tech combined with both local and area of effect damage as of 2.4, and both actually got a fairly nice improvement with their travel speed with the release of that 2.4 patch. Starting with the more forgotten of the two, we have the base Leap, a skill often looked at as just being a necessary precursor to the other skills and rarely used, and as such, most players don't realize that it has utility beyond simply leaping over obstacles or through bars, but it actually also has a knockback effect that can be used in a number of situations, especially in team games, for staggering enemies and repositioning them mainly. And as your points in this skill grow, you'll notice the radius of this effect grows as well, even to a point of allowing you to knock back enemies who are off-screen with a skill level in the mid-30s or higher. Now, unfortunately, it does not do any damage with this, but it can be used to shove enemies into corners or to cluster them together for use in combination with various area of effect skills from other players, or even just to speed through an area and avoid encounters. The major drawback of this strategy, though, is sadly the limited range on Leap. At least at low levels, it makes it a little frustrating at first, though with even a half dozen levels in it, you'll already be up to half of its maximum travel distance due to diminishing returns on the leap distance itself. So the only reason to go further is that knockback effect radius, which is a steady 2/3 of a yard per level. Now, the more popular Leap skill, Leap Attack, got a plethora of buffs in 2.4, and is much more popular for solo play due to it being tied to an attack, but still being able to target just the ground as a movement tech, much like Charge. And as part of its nature of not having to worry about maximum ranges, it makes it kind of useful, so even a 1-point investment, it can reach as far as you want to click, unlike its little brother. In addition to these original functions, 2.4 provided the increased travel speed that we mentioned earlier, making it easier to hit with, and also increased the damage and attack rating boost of the skill, and introduced an area of effect on the landing that is pretty much just a miniature Warcry, with the same radius, just somewhat lower damage, making it a pretty solid option, at least in Normal and Nightmare, though you will find the area of effect a bit lacking in late Nightmare and into Hell unless it's really high level, but it's still essentially free damage since they only increase the mana cost of Leap Attack by a tiny amount. Now, as far as some of the things both these skills have in common, you have weird hit registration while airborne, since you're sort of Schrodinger's Barbarian while using these skills, and Whirlwind, in that the rules as to what can hit you get a bit wobbly. But basically, you can be swung at in melee, hit by tick-based auras, but you'll jump over missiles, though you can be hit by melee-fired missiles while airborne. And while leaping, your defense and blocking are still fully functional though, so you can avoid these just by being, well, tanky. The other fiddly bits are that you have various lockouts while airborne, such as not triggering cast when struck effects, as well as being locked out of weapon swaps and potions to prevent odd behaviors. Though I do actually hate that potions are locked out, since you can still be hit while doing this, much like with Whirlwind. But overall, in spite of these quirks, these high-flying movement techs are still easily the second best in the game, and extremely efficient options for the targeted farming the Barbarian specializes in. So, do you use leap skills, or do you slap enigmas on your barbarians and ignore them, or do you just use the barbarian's enhanced speed to sprint point to point? Mention it down below, and as always, a special thanks to the channel members and patrons for making this content possible. And if you want to be added to the on-screen credits and support the content, you can find links in the description down below.